I just love being surrounded by history and this sense of beauty in all of the architecture around me and being close to nature all the time. Everything about life here I love.
Stephanie Jarvis's life at a grand French chateau may seem like a dream, but beneath the beautiful facades and charming renovation videos lies a story packed with unexpected struggles and bold decisions. What does it take to preserve centuries-old history when you're fighting against time, money, and a massive property? From turning frustration with London's housing market into an ambitious countryside escape to navigating complex relationships and building a thriving online community, Stephanie's experience reveals much more than the polished scenes on screen. Get ready to uncover the truths many viewers never see. The unseen struggles. Stephanie Jarvis's life at Chateau Diaries is often portrayed through picturesque restoration scenes and charming daily routines. But the reality behind the camera is far more complex and exhausting. Maintaining a centuries-old chateau is not just about repainting walls or planting gardens. It is a relentless battle against decay, costly repairs, and constant upkeep. Stephanie often emphasizes that historic properties demand passion and patience because they never stay fixed. They are in a constant state of requiring attention. Leaks, structural damage, and mold are ongoing threats that can quickly escalate if not addressed immediately. The sheer size of Chateau Diaries adds layers of difficulty. Even minor issues, like fixing a crack in a wall, can turn into major projects, exposing hidden problems that drain both time and money. Stephanie's experience is a vivid reminder that owning such a historic home is less about comfort and more about stewardship. Every day brings new challenges, from electrical faults to roof repairs, demanding a hands-on approach that few can sustain over many years. Financial strain is another major challenge Stephanie faces. Restoration is notoriously expensive, and the property's age means unforeseen costs frequently arise. Balancing the budget while prioritizing urgent repairs requires constant attention and planning. For years, Stephanie had to make tough choices about which projects could move forward and which had to wait. These financial pressures underscore a harsh reality. Preservation is a marathon, not a sprint. Isolation can add to the strain. Chateau Diaries lacks nearby services because it exists in a remote area. Stephanie needs to handle all contractor and specialist communications because she requires their expertise in historic restoration. She handles 3 distinct responsibilities as project manager, fundraiser, and caretaker, without any assistance from a support team. The emotional and physical impacts of historic ownership become worse because of this particular solitary aspect. Stephanie's work requires her to build physical structures, but she must create a community that will sustain the chateau's historical legacy. The property needs to keep its historical character, which creates ongoing conflicts when it needs to be modernized. Restoration and renovation decisions create major impacts because they determine how the chateau will look and operate in the future. Stephanie needs to develop precise skills for dealing with these complex issues, which she needs to protect the special qualities of Chateau Diaries. The majority of the time, supporters and viewers experience frustration because progress remains either unnoticeable or progresses at a slow pace. Stephanie has disclosed that work on the property reached its slowest progress pace during his first 3 years of ownership. Historic buildings need extended time periods for renovations because they reject temporary solutions, which require multiple years to complete. People who watch renovation shows and social media videos expect immediate results, which creates a difference with the actual slow speed of this process. She must handle the mental demands that come with her responsibility to manage an extensive historical estate. The burden of responsibility, together with the need to find solutions, creates a pressure that eventually becomes too much. Stephanie has spoken honestly about the emotional commitment and the resilience required to stay motivated through setbacks. Her story shows that chateau ownership requires both mental endurance and physical work capacity. Stephanie continues to operate the chateau because she feels genuine enthusiasm for it, and she possesses a vision about its future. She faces tremendous challenges, but her willpower drives her to continue the restoration work. The project represents more than just home renovations. because it shows her dedication to maintaining a historic structure. The hidden battles serve as the base that supports all the narratives that her audience loves to watch. Transitioning from these daily trials to the roots of Stephanie's outlook helps us understand the unique background that shaped her ability to face such challenges. A life built on community. Stephanie Jarvis's upbringing laid the groundwork for her resilience and unconventional approach to life at Chateau Diaries. Born to a British father and a French mother, she grew up immersed in a blend of cultures that would later fuel her strong connection to France. Her parents, both trained nurses, held the belief that one's surroundings could impact well-being, an idea that deeply influenced their family life and Stephanie's worldview. Rather than living in a traditional private home, Stephanie's family owned a large country estate in England that they converted into a care home for people with Alzheimer's disease. This unusual setting introduced her early to concepts of communal living and shared responsibility. While the main house served the patients, the family lived in the attic, blending private life with public service. This environment fostered an understanding of how spaces could serve greater purposes beyond individual comfort. Her formative years in this serene and purposeful setting shaped Stephanie's appreciation for beauty, community, and caretaking. She witnessed firsthand the healing power of surroundings filled with history and nature, lessons that would later inform her commitment to Chateau Diaries. The experience also planted a seed of practicality, as living and working within such a complex estate required flexibility and collaboration. Stephanie achieved her educational goals through her study of music and drama in England, which helped her develop public performance skills and effective communication abilities. The skills she developed during her studies would assist her when she became known to the public as a storyteller and online content creator. She considered an opera career, but her performance passion focused on artistic expression rather than professional goals. Her personality drew her toward active social spaces, which enabled creative expression through constant human interaction. The way Stephanie chooses to live with other people instead of staying alone demonstrates how she was raised. The environment needs to support her because she works best when people come together to share and accomplish tasks, which differs from how most people live in their homes. Her French travels created stronger cultural connections, which enabled her to develop emotional readiness for an international rural lifestyle. The French heritage connection became the main factor that controlled her adult life choices. The couple owned two-bedroom flats in London, which dated back to their ownership, but they doubted their ability to remain in the city because property prices kept increasing. The couple shared one common problem, which led them to develop different methods for living outside the urban environment. Stephanie's first life experiences, which combined practical skills with her cultural background and social responsibility, helped her create a vision for future life that would maintain her cultural heritage while bringing forth new ideas. The values that her parents taught her during her youth became her guiding principles throughout the complicated process of acquiring and renovating a historic French chateau. She made all her decisions through a deep understanding of her life experiences, which formed her sense of identity. As her thoughts shifted towards transforming possibility into reality, Stephanie and Nick's search for a new home marked a decisive step from contemplation to action, moving beyond the constraints of London's urban landscape. Decision to buy the chateau. Frustration with the London housing market propelled Stephanie Jarvis to look far beyond the city's limits for a home that offered more space, history, and opportunity. Property prices in the early 2000s were climbing steadily, making even modest homes increasingly unattainable. The irony struck Stephanie when she realized that the combined value of her flat and Nick's flat could potentially buy an entire historic chateau in rural France. This stark contrast between urban confinement and countryside expansiveness transformed her perspective. Rather than chasing a dream of luxury, Stephanie viewed purchasing a chateau as a practical response to real challenges. She and Nick began researching properties in French rural areas, focusing on locations that weren't too isolated yet still offered the lifestyle they sought. Proximity to markets, thrift shops, and accessible towns factored heavily into their considerations. They desired a place that felt alive, connected, and authentic. Their search led them to the region near Limoges, where they discovered Chateau Diaries, a 16th century estate of considerable size and character, but also much in need of restoration. The property's history and atmosphere resonated deeply. Although it required substantial work, the potential it held was clear. The purchase was a leap of faith, grounded in shared vision and hope rather than certainty. Stephanie's decision had important emotional and familial dimensions. Her parents encouraged her and offered practical help, understanding the scale of commitment required. Meanwhile, her relationship with Michael Potts brought moral support and hands-on assistance during the early stages. This network of support softened the risks and complexities involved. As time passed, Michael became a co-owner alongside Stephanie and Nick, highlighting how the chateau was a collaborative endeavor. Living in London with rising costs, Stephanie and Nick recognized that their investments in cramped urban flats tied up significant capital with limited returns on quality of life. Choosing the chateau allowed them to reallocate resources toward building something lasting and meaningful. The transition from city dwellers to chateau owners was less a romantic fantasy and more a strategic way to reclaim freedom and space. The early years at Chateau de Lalande were marked by slow, painstaking progress. Contrary to the immediate transformations portrayed on camera, restoration work demanded relentless effort and patience. Every project revealed more challenges, underscoring that owning such a property was a long-term commitment. Stephanie's perseverance was fueled by passion and practical goals rather than fleeting enthusiasm. This decision to buy the chateau set the course for Stephanie's life in profound ways, turning frustration into motivation and reshaping her daily reality. It marked a turning point, not only in where she lived, but in how she understood community, heritage, and personal fulfillment. With the foundation laid by this purchase, the dynamics of ownership and relationships around Chateau de Lalande introduced new layers of complexity and cooperation that would shape its future. Ownership and relationship. The story of Chateau de Lalande isn't just about restoration, it's about the people behind it. Stephanie Jarvis doesn't own the chateau alone. She shares it with longtime friends Nick and Michael Potts, creating a partnership built on trust, shared vision, and responsibility rather than traditional ownership. Michael, a photographer, brings both creativity and steady support to the project. Though he often travels and lives in the Netherlands with his partner, he remains closely involved in long-term plans and key decisions. His early hands-on help played a major role in keeping the restoration moving forward. Nick, often called the elusive Nick by viewers, prefers to stay out of the spotlight. While he rarely appears on camera, his presence is still felt. His family, including his wife and son, spends time at the chateau during holidays, and has even taken on renovating a separate apartment within the property. Together, this unique ownership dynamic reflects something deeper. Restoration at Lalande is not a solo journey. It's a shared effort, shaped by friendship, collaboration, and a long-term commitment to preserving something meaningful. The ownership trio demonstrates how personal relationships with shared emotional investment are through their business. The parties involved need to reach an agreement through negotiation because they have different priorities and lifestyles, which will affect their decisions about restoration work and operational matters and future development. The two organizations maintain their practical operations through a bond that develops from mutual respect and their dedication to preserving the chateau's heritage. The partnership model, which they established at their hotel property, shows that these organizations will operate together as a collective because employees share specific responsibilities. The core team operates as a community because each member has specific duties, while their family and friends maintain the story through their occasional participation. Stephanie's parents provided active support for her during her early stages through their practical help. The support they provided proved essential because their project required them to complete an enormous undertaking. The project derives benefits from the multiple interconnected lives that reside at Chateau de Lalande, but their presence introduces difficulties to the work. Historic estate management requires emotional strength because estate operators must deal with long-term relationship needs that develop through their work. Stephanie established her resilience backbone through her ability to solve problems and her existing social networks. Their shared commitment throughout their common work results in their ability to reach goals, which demonstrates how restoration work creates deep human connections. The ownership and relational framework show that Stephanie does not pursue her personal goals, but instead embarks on a trust-based collaborative journey with others. The decision-making process for the chateau appears to move slowly because it requires consensus building, which takes time to establish connections that create sustainable relationships. From the bonds of ownership, the financial realities come sharply into focus, revealing how the project survives and continues to evolve amidst the demands of maintaining a historic jewel. Funding the restoration. Financing the restoration of Chateau de Lalande has always been a challenge. Its size and age bring constant costs, and for years, Stephanie Jarvis relied on traditional income streams to keep things moving. Before the 2020 pandemic, the chateau operated as a small bed and breakfast, offering 5 rooms to guests who wanted to experience life in a historic French estate. Alongside this, Stephanie hosted music workshops and small events, blending cultural experiences with much-needed revenue. These efforts helped build a sense of community, but progress remained slow, often limited by ongoing maintenance and unexpected repairs. Everything changed when the pandemic hit. Travel restrictions shut down bookings and events almost overnight, cutting off the chateau's primary income sources. While expenses continued, revenue disappeared, forcing Stephanie to rethink how to sustain both the restoration and daily operations. It was a turning point that pushed her to look beyond traditional models. At the same time, her YouTube channel, the Chateau Diaries, had been quietly growing. During lockdown, Stephanie leaned into this platform, sharing consistent updates about life and restoration at Lalande. While the physical doors were closed, the chateau remained open online. Viewers from around the world tuned in, drawn to the calm routine and steady progress during an uncertain time. What started as simple videos quickly became a source of comfort for many. The funding possibilities expanded alongside the audience growth, which created new chances to re-examine funding methods. Stephanie established her Patreon account in early 2020 to allow viewers to financially support the restoration work. The audience reacted without delay. The total number of supporters reached thousands, who provided monthly donations, which quickly resulted in substantial financial backing. The project generated approximately $22,000 each month, which enabled the team to start work on projects that had been waiting for completion during extended periods. The funds brought about actual results, which created substantial changes. The restoration work for the chapel inside the chateau advanced, while plans to bring back the historic lake that had been drained for many years became feasible. Stephanie used Patreon money solely for restoration work, which showed her finances while using other sources of income to meet her personal requirements. The establishment of this financial separation created trust, which enhanced her relationship with her audience. The chateau funding process has transformed into a common objective that all parties share. Supporters participate in the project process because they can see the progress. Stephanie used storytelling and community backing to turn a weak funding system into an effective ongoing operation, which demonstrated that people can work together to achieve successful preservation outcomes. The intricate web of relationships and finances at Chateau de Lalande captures the evolving nature of Stephanie's journey, from a solitary caretaker to a leader of a connected global community dedicated to safeguarding an extraordinary piece of history. Growing public profile. Stephanie Jarvis's journey with Chateau de Lalande shifted dramatically when her private restoration story reached a wider audience. In 2017, her appearance on Escape to the Chateau DIY introduced viewers to the scale of her project and the realities of restoring a historic estate in France. What was once a quiet, personal mission quickly became something shared, drawing interest from people fascinated by history, architecture, and the dedication behind it. In 2018, she took that connection further by launching the Chateau Diaries on YouTube. Unlike television, these videos were simple and personal, offering a real look into daily life at the chateau. From small repairs to meaningful moments, viewers weren't just watching progress, they were part of it. Over time, consistent uploads built a loyal and engaged community that followed the journey closely. The channel experienced fast growth during the 2020 pandemic because global citizens sought comfort and escape from their daily lives. Stephanie provided more than content to her audience because she delivered both soothing content and dependable programming. The Chateau became a digital meeting space because her audience base increased, which they used to view the building's ongoing development. The new growth created additional chances for development. The larger restoration work could proceed because Patreon support enabled Stephanie to execute her plan for Chateau preservation work. She launched her second channel in 2021 to share her travel and experience-based storytelling outside of the estate. The personal restoration project has transformed into a vibrant online community. Stephanie Jarvis's story reminds us that behind every historic restoration lies grit, community, and unexpected growth. From daunting challenges to blossoming audiences, her journey shows how passion can turn preservation into a shared experience. If you enjoyed this glimpse behind the scenes of Chateau de Lalande, please like and subscribe for more stories that uncover the truth behind the beauty. And don't miss the next story waiting for you on screen.